Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera tuan-tuan yang saya hormati dan saya kasihi sekalian. It is indeed a great pleasure for Tasli and the company to invite me over for today for a sharing session. And Dr. Norvin, thank you very much for introducing us. I have been requested to talk about how do you align your assessment to the teaching and learning in ensuring that all of the CLOs that you have targeted, the intended learning outcome that you have targeted, can be assessed and we can find evidence at the level for the level of attainment. Jadi saya pagi ini sebenarnya bercadang awal sekali nak memberikan sedikit overview. Because whenever you talk about constructive alignment, whenever you talk about collecting evidences that students have already attained a certain level of what you have written in a course learning outcome, you cannot run away from the bigger picture, you cannot run away from the philosophy. And the philosophy and the approach has always gone back to the design of the curriculum, which utilizes on the approach of outcomes-based education. So we cannot run away from that. Jadi sebelum saya memulakan bagaimanakah untuk memastikan bahawa pelaksanaan kursus-kursus yang kita tawarkan ini pasti adanya penjajaran konstruktif. And so we look back at the bigger picture. So today, if you look at some of the information that I have displayed on the screen, you know there was an article that was published recently talking about lecturers should not use PowerPoint anymore because students say it's not going to be asked in the examination, or rather it would be reduce your ability towards higher order thinking skills. I totally disagree with that, but this is not the time for us to debate on whether or not PowerPoint can be used in increasing and enhancing the ability of the students. It all goes back to the design. PowerPoint is simply one tool which we use to disseminate information and one tool that we use to aid us in our classroom discussion. But what is the bigger picture? The bigger picture, ladies and gentlemen, always goes back to the purpose of education. We believe, when I was still at the ministry, when we were involved in crafting the higher education blueprint, the underpinnings of what education is, we believe the following is: one for the learners, the other one is for the educators themselves. We believe that education for the learners is basically the process of reorganizing, restructuring of their experiences so that they can better direct their future experiences. Those are for the learners. As far as for the educators are concerned, we look back at the educators who are going to perform in the classroom, and we say that when educators are involved in the teaching and learning process, we are looking at them so that when they foster the learning of the students, they will have to be respectful of the diversity of the learners. One of the basic premise and principle of outcomes-based education. Not only that, they must also motivate learners. Be hopeful of what the learners can contribute, not only for themselves, for the family, for the community, but as a citizen of this country, and most importantly, as a citizen of the world. In addition to that, a lecturer who is going to be engaged in the classroom teaching and learning must always choose wisely on how the teaching and learning should be done. And all the teaching and learning that are going to be done in the classroom always goes back to what should they be able to do upon completion of the class, which would help them to build up the competencies. What should they be able to do upon completion of the program? Hence, ladies and gentlemen, we go back to the national education philosophy. And if you read the statement of the national education philosophy, and if you go through the belief, the target, the process, the ultimate target, education in this country that we provide, whether we start with kindergarten, as we move up to the kindergarten and high school and goes to the tertiary level, at the end of all these learning experiences, we are hopeful that they will become citizens. What kind of citizens? Malaysian citizens. What do they do as a Malaysian citizen? We have prepared them with the knowledge. We have prepared them with the learning journey, learning experiences, so that they can have noble characters. Nilai-nilai murni, culture, religion, faith, and the whatnot. All of them combined together so that they can contribute towards the prosperity and the harmony, not only for themselves, but for the family, and most importantly, for the country. Today, the border of our country is ill-defined. Politically, geographically, yes, it has been defined clearly. But as far as people of the world and people of Malaysia are concerned, we are not talking about the just boundary of Malaysia. Why? Because WhatsApp and social media can reach the whole world with just a flick of a finger. And so our education system helps our learners, hopefully, so that they can become global citizens with universal responsibility to benefit humankind. This is basically what the national education philosophy entails too, as far as the ultimate target is concerned. And with the challenges that the ministers have been talking about, IR 4.0, talking about artificial intelligence taking over the role of the human being, taking over all the roles of us doing jobs and things like that. But our education must be smart enough in the curriculum, in the design, to promote the following. The three things that artificial intelligence could not do, at least at this point in time. I don't know, 20 years to come, 15 to 20 years to come, I don't know if artificial intelligence and robots can do all of this. Empathy, emotional intelligence, the love index, the love intelligence as per Jack Ma, creativity. And all these things are connected together in the development of artificial intelligence. The human being cannot be sidelined. Human being can and still and necessarily will be involved in developing others towards sustainability of the humankind. And so comes innovation. So creativity, EQ, LQ will have to be part of our curriculum, not just the content anymore. Wherever you go in Malaysia, we are still pressing for this so-called academic excellence, which means knowledge, understanding, and being able to apply at the lower level with routine tasks rather than with a new situation. But as days go by, as artificial intelligence plays more role in the future, we've got to embed the ability to be creative, to connect dots. And as dots are being connected, do not forget that feeling the human being will have to go through: respect, self-confidence, self-awareness, social communication, culture, love for the country. All of these engage together, you combine and you integrate all of that as part of the development of our learners. And just now I mentioned about the approach of our design. So even before we talk about constructive alignment, even without even looking at the assessment tools and the assessment devices that you will use to collect evidences, you've got to know what is the bigger picture. We have already started the use of this so-called outcomes-based education for quite some time already. Prof. Khairia can attest to that. Since the year 2000, it was first initiated, the movement was first initiated, correct me if I'm wrong, Prof. Khairia, 1997. But in this country, we started to initiate it for the engineering fraternity in 2003, simply because they want to be part of the Accord. Was it Washington Accord? We started with Washington Accord. To be part of the Washington Accord, we needed to start doing our curriculum design by using the outcomes-based education approach. And then part of the education, outcomes-based education is also constructive alignment, as it was first proposed by John Dix. And the most important essence of outcomes-based education, it is not about the content anymore. You've got to have the ends in mind. And the ends in mind in outcomes-based education comes in different levels. The long-term, the short-term, the competency upon completion of the program, and at the course level as you prepare your learners towards being competent upon graduation. So it is about begin with the ends in mind, and the reason for this outcomes-based education approach introduced in the country is to look into the accountability of our education system. And that accountability can come from many different sources. But as far as OBE is concerned, we are looking at the learning abilities and learning outcomes of our learners, the intangible component of the product of education. What exactly is outcomes-based education? What are the different forms of outcomes-based education that has already been practiced throughout the world? When you talk about OBE, it's basically clearly focusing on and organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for the learners to be able to do successfully. If you were talking first at the program level, what will they essentially be able to do few years after they have graduated, 10 years after they have graduated, right upon completion of the program? What can they do? And then you prepare at the course level in order for them to achieve the competencies upon completion of the program. 3 premises as dictated or proposed by Spady. But what's most important now, when you do your OBE, look back at the principles of outcomes-based education. Clarity of focus. I've gone through more than 1,000, I think, learning modules at different universities for different programs, ranging from medical program to engineering program. And I believe there are a lot of room for improvement, gaps in room for improvement as far as clarity of focus is concerned. When you talk about providing teaching and learning in the classroom, be alert of the 4th principle, the diversity. Not just the diversity of your learners, but the diversity of the tools that are available for you to use for the teaching and learning. Many people complain that OBE is like, does not give you the freedom, does not address the higher order thinking skills. People who talked about this perhaps were not involved directly in the design of the curriculum. But we in this country, we are assisted by the Malaysian Qualification Agency. And MQA had already proposed MQF 1.0, MQF 2.0, of which all the attributes that the students should be able to demonstrate that we need to develop through all the courses that we offer have already been identified and proposed for universities that want to propose so that they can do this in their program. 2 types. I believe that many of us were tied down with the first kind of OBE, which is the traditional and or transitional OBE. In the traditional OBE, we take the content of what we had before, and then we say, okay, the following are the topics that we have. Then what we do is just going to have to convert all of these topics into learning outcomes. So when we started doing outcomes-based education, you look at the learning outcomes for a certain course, 15. Why? Because there are 15 topics. And then slowly, we bring it down to 10, 7, 8. But as the days go by, And as the MQF 1.0 was first proposed, we realized that, hey, wait a minute, why are we still concentrating on topics? Whereas topics are basically what you need to support the attainment of the competencies or the learning outcome. So today, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at learning outcomes for a course, 3 credit, maybe 4 credit hours, it ranges between 3 to 4. Unless, of course, you are teaching a course with a 7 credit hour. Perhaps the learning outcomes would increase between 4 and 5. And that's not what we want. The country wants to emphasize more on the life roles and abilities that the learners can achieve upon completion of the program. So the outcomes-based education, the second form is the transformational. What does it emphasize? Long-term, cross-curricular outcomes directly related to the students' life roles. As a brother, as a son, as a penghulu, as an imam of a masjid, as a leader of an NGO, these are the kind of life roles. So we're not just focusing only on the academic and the professional development, but the bigger picture is the life role. As we go back to the national education philosophy, Malaysian citizens who will contribute to the prosperity and the harmony of the self, of the family, of the country, and globally. And so, when you start writing the learning outcomes, the competency statements at the program level, and ensuring that they can achieve these outcomes at the program level, you offer courses. At the course level, definitely you have to start writing the course learning outcomes. Where does constructive alignment comes into play? The real action of constructive alignment is at the course level. Because the verb itself, it says constructive alignment. Today I'm not going to talk about the constructive part, but focusing only on the alignment part. And that alignment part refers to the tools that you use to collect evidences of students' learning outcome attainment. Okay? So, whenever you write your learning outcomes, in terms of the clarity of focus, these outcomes must be of high quality, culminating demonstrations of significant learning in context. If you can read that statement in one breath and memorize that statement, as you reflect back on all the course learning outcomes that you have seen or have been tasked to change, again, when you write your learning outcomes, it must be of high quality. And that high quality refers to the culminating demonstrations of, upon completion of this program, upon completion of this course. Significant learning, what kind of learning that would help them to become what we desire for them to become. This is transformational OBE in context. All right, so there goes your 4 principles of outcomes based and the kind of OBE that you need when you design the program and eventually when you translate that into practices, courses that you offer. Yes. Yes, please.
What then if students come in with their own aspirations, their own outcomes, their own views of where they like to see themselves to be, which may be in alignment or not in alignment with what we project? How do we actually handle that kind of tension?
Okay.
Find a balance between what they want and what they aspire to.
Okay, that is indeed a good point of view. one of the requirements when we design our curriculum, whether you are going to craft the program aim, the program educational objectives, the competency statements, and also at the course level, is to engage with stakeholders. Engage with stakeholders, even before you come to the ministry. We need to know the kinds of survey that you have done as far as the needs for the industries. We need to know whether you have engaged with the parents of the potential students. We need to know if you have already engaged with the potential learners that will enroll at your university. It is during this opportunity of the design, when the students with different experiences, especially today, right? Different aspirations, especially today. All these should be taken into consideration during the design itself. We have not even gone to the course level yet. This is still at the, 10 years down the line, what kind of competencies, what kind of behavior, what kind of practices should you be able to display and demonstrate. 3 years down the line, what kind of practices and behavior should you be able to display? When you have completed, what kind of behavior you should be displaying? All this information and experiences that the students have should be engaged with and put as part of the curriculum design. Sorry? Well ahead, yes.
How is that possible when we have not captured them as prospective students?
Or you should have captured them during the design part. Many of the universities have not included students as part of the stakeholder. If you really are serious to implement outcomes-based, you need to engage students as part of the stakeholder. Nowadays, people are talking about students as co-creators of substance, of the curriculum. You should have done that way before. Now when you go to the course level, then only you bring in more additional information at the course level. Usually when you design at the program level, this is going to stay 3 to 5 years. At the course level, on the other hand, it can change. It is dynamic, and it should be fluid and dynamic. It is not cast in stone. No such thing. But many of us believe our curriculum review will not be held until 5 years from now. Yes, at the program level. Yes, perhaps the structure of the courses, but not the substance for each course, but not the course learning outcomes themselves. It's fluid. It's organic. You are given this leeway. MQA gives you this leeway. Engineering, one has to be very careful because one has to abide by the standards. And so the standards are already there. But even with the standards, you can still be organic and fluid at the course level. At the program level, engineering already have your 12 learning outcomes, competencies upon completion of the program. But that doesn't mean that you cannot rewrite them as long as you do not lose the meaning and the structure of the program learning outcomes. Okay, have I answered your question, ma'am? So when you plan today, you will not be able to implement it until, what year is this? This September 2019. The only time that you can start implementing it would be in 2021. It takes about 2 years before you can actually implement it at the university. So this is the time when you start engaging with the stakeholders, including the potential students.
So you have already made it fluid again, there are changes again, because then...
Yeah, but you've got to make your plans. I mean, things cannot change every year. You plan ahead. Provost Na is involved with the Jawatan Kuasa Dasar, looking at the existing education for this country. But we have to think ahead, 15, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. We cannot just work with what we have today. Almost impossible. And we cannot wait either. Otherwise, there is no planning. Right? You've got to plan. Sometimes it is at the execution part where we have to look into changes that we can make. Okay? All right. MQF 1.0, most of you are familiar with it. You can memorize all the attributes under MQF 1.0. MQF 2.0, where they have already clustered most of the attributes from the learning outcome domains, the 8 learning outcome domains. They clustered it into 5 different clusters. And one of the main reasons they have clustered it together was to align it with the AQ, the ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework. What is additional in here? 2 additional attributes are numeracy skills and digital skills. And since I said that part of the reason why they have done this 2.0, number 1 was to align with AQRF, the ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework. Number 2 is to support the TVET. And so they have clustered most of the attributes that you see under MQF 1.0 are retained. A lot of universities, when they design new program, they couldn't quite comprehend because you have to implement the use of MQF 2.0 beginning April 2018 for all new programs. You have to abide by this. So when universities ask MQA, does this mean that we have 8 new learning outcome domains based on this? The answer is no. This is only the 5 clusters. There are, of course, from the cluster, for example, cluster number 3, since there are so many different attributes, perhaps MQA was proposing 1 learning outcome for each attribute. But you don't have to do that. If you look at the MQF 2.0 appendix, they list down each of these attributes in the cluster. They have 1 statement of learning outcome, which you don't have to truly follow. What I'm trying to say is whatever learning outcomes that you have set, program learning outcomes, okay, in the past using MQF 1.0, it is still valid. You can still retain the 8 MQF learning outcome domain. But look at the attributes, the 2 additional attributes, numeracy skill and digital skills. In here, they have separated between the social skills you have, the personal and interpersonal. They have taken the interpersonal out and separated from personal. Before, they had it as MQF learning outcome domain number 3. So it's just a matter of rearranging things. As far as the attribute development is concerned, there is no change, but adding 2 new attributes. This you have to understand. Engineering, you don't have to worry about it, but other programs you do have to worry about it. And so when you write the program learning outcomes, there must be a statement that relates to, will the program develop numeracy skill? Will the program help the students to develop digital skills? In the days of artificial intelligence, digital skills is not about creating PowerPoint. Digital skills is not about using Word, using Excel. It goes way beyond that. So where in the courses will the program help the students attain this particular attribute? I hope you are aware of this new MQF 2.0 and the debate that has gone around with the implementation. A letter was issued by MQA. And we are also trying, the engineering, myself and Prof. Shahrir and Prof. Hamidun, we were trying to make sure that our alignment with the Engineering Accreditation Council attributes must be done also with that one. And I believe Prof. Shahrir was satisfied with this, although I wasn't quite satisfied with it yet. We're still working towards it. Okay, since everybody is talking about this, I will let you look at the attributes in there. Any questions on this one? Even though I have been asked to talk about constructive alignment, but whatever constructive alignment that you will be doing, you cannot run away from looking at the bigger picture. This is a bigger picture that we have to start with the long term. We have to start with the attributes of what the country wants to help the students develop. So, even when you talk about students' aspiration and experiences, I believe it has been captured here under the bigger picture. It is how you translate that into the substance, which is the content, and the learning outcomes, and the content for the courses that you offer. Yeah, you see that when we look at the MQF, we don't separate them, quote unquote, separate them into cognitive domain and a psychomotor domain and the affective domain. We just look at the bigger picture of it. So, for example, the bigger picture in terms of the cognitive development, there are two components of it. One is the development of the cognition. The other one is the development of the intellectual skills or the cognitive skills. And then the social skills part, there are many parts of the development. We're talking about personal development, interpersonal development, value system, communication, managerial, information management. What else is there? Entrepreneurial. It's all in there, and I believe entrepreneurial has been combined with personal development. So it's just a matter of the rearrangement into different clusters. So it does not affect the 8 MQF LOD. There is no such thing as the new MQF 8 LOD. It doesn't exist. But somehow, many universities believe that there are. Just because when they look at the appendix, there are recommendations for each of the cluster. And based on those recommendations, they form their own judgment. There are new 8 MQF LODs. MQA vehemently deny that. Of course, it's not in writing. I have requested for them to have it in writing. They said, JJ, to begin with, we never issue anything new. We only have in this MQF 2.0 the appendix. So you work with that. Jangan pula kata ada 8 MQF LOD yang baharu. Adalah a school of thought. Memang dah disebarkan yang ini. Memang bahaya yang itu. And everybody believes that this is what MQA wants you to do. And Prof. Zita had requested for me to correct this group. But of course, since I don't have the power, I'm not from MQA. Okay? She has verbally and in WhatsApp requested that I correct this group. I said, well, I can't do that. Even Kairia also cannot help to do that. It's MQA thing, right? If you have already proposed and if you have informed people these are the new, habis lah. Memang habis. So saya tanya, has there been any letter issued by the MQA saying that these are the new MQF LODs? None. So why are you using it? Because it is in the appendix of the MQF 2.0. Oh no. 5 clusters. The new MQF only has 5 clusters, full stop. Alright? And you have to read MQF 2.0 and all the explanation that comes with it. You don't just capture that part in the appendix, but don't look at the body of the text itself. You've got to read the body of the text and how it goes and explains why they have clustered all of this together without losing all the initial 16 attributes that they had proposed in MQF 1.0. Okay. Samples. This is from a medical program. This UNIZA, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, a medical program said that they have not done their curriculum review for more than 4 years, and then they were working on their curriculum review for almost 2 years. It took them 2 years to complete, and then suddenly, because I'm on the board of this medical program, suddenly when I look at all of the existing information, I said there's a lot of room for improvement because most of the fundamentals were not used when you design your curriculum. So they engaged me for about 8 days. We actually sit down going through the program design and also the course design. At the end of the day, this is what they agree. The long-term accomplishment, the short-term accomplishment in the PEO, and the competencies upon graduation. This is what they agree, based on the fundamentals that I assisted them with. So as you read through all this information here, this gives you a big picture on what the students should be able to demonstrate upon completion, few years after they have graduated, 10 years after they have already graduated. Yes, sir. How are you, sir? Yeah, it should not be there. But
I'm just going back into maybe a bit philosophical.
yeah.
The education used to be the responsibility of the nation, and then certified by the nation for employment at within the boundary of the nation. For which, for example, there used to be DPA accredited because DPA, the one actually. Nowadays, the industry play a bigger role where the demand, different skill sets and so on, for which in response to the industry need, they have accreditation bodies, professional bodies that in a way could be the spokesperson for the industry, for which they actively involved in the accreditation. They have the board of accountancy, the board of engineers and so on, for which the accreditation goes through that, for which MQA in a way in responding to the need of the industry, become the secretary in that sense.
For the professional bodies, yes.
While at the same time trying to play the role of the accreditation, the certification, the validation, and the responsibility for the nation in that sense. However, the industry moving, or the education is now moving towards the responding to the need of the individual. Right? That means I just don't care about going to university anymore. There is no need for me to get accreditation anymore. After all, this is for business purpose, not political purpose. Oh, sorry, that one is supposed to be there.
It's okay, it's okay.
In that sense, basically, it's like I go for education for my own need. So that the move is there. Whether or not this accreditation, really doesn't matter in that sense. Now, where will the role of the accreditation body will be in the future? And then where will MQF be in the future? That will pose the questions. And then the challenge will be, because if you want to do accreditation, you want to do certification, there has to be a manual for accreditation, a guideline. And if that guideline, is not clear enough, it becomes ambiguous. If it is too detailed, like the board of engineers, you get how many? 11 the last count of program graduate outcome, and then everybody
12.
decided like just take the 12 and 4 more, so you ended up having 16 or something like that. I'm just exaggerating, but we ended up having those descriptors, and then for us to not even understanding where that descriptor comes from, why they are there. Some are duplicate, some misspell even for that matter, and just copy it with the spelling and everything. So I mean, go back into the education philosophy of outcome responding. Let the institution decide. Let them decide as long as they can justify it meets the accreditations or the needs or the philosophy of the education. It's easier that way, rather than having the LODA, rather than C5 and so on. Because for some, maybe psychomotor is not important. Maybe cognitive is not important. I do not know. I'm just saying. Okay. Right, yeah, that's fine. Just
Okay, the question is the following. How will MQA and the accreditation body still be relevant in the future? Where does MQA stand in the future? And whether or not the attributes of the MQF with the 5 clusters or the 8 MQF LODs is still relevant for the design of the curriculum. My answer to that is minimally 15 to 20 years, perhaps longer, as far as the relevance is concerned. Yes, we see that now accountability for an individual when they want to move far towards having a career pathway does not really require them to have a degree. A lot of stories are going on now. You talk about politics. We're talking about recently, these past 2 weeks, a lot of issues have popped up about quote-unquote fake certificates, inaccurate information on Wikipedia and the whatnot. And it seems that many of the cabinet members feel that that is not very highly relevant. We can talk and debate about the relevancy on that towards their political decision making. But as far as accountability of any academic program, it must go through Kementerian Pendidikan.
And Kementerian Pendidikan has to work closely together with this accreditation body. This accreditation body is not just for our country, we're talking about the whole world. So changes are happening slowly. Changes cannot happen within 5 years. Almost impossible. Now that we have Jawatan Kuasa Dasar working on the new, talking about new policies coming out in about, I don't know, 6 months? Leslie? When do you expect to present this to Brahim Bajunit? I mean, Tan Sri Wan Zahid. Yeah, what? By the end of April. You see, when we talk about all of this, we cannot run away from a certain standard. Standard means a baseline. What we have indicated down here on the slide is the baseline. You want to go beyond this baseline, please proceed. If you believe that you want to strike high for the, say for example, learning outcome domain number 6, you want to straight immediately say, upon completion of the program, students should be able to create new ideas, new procedures, new products. Go ahead. But be sure you can deliver. Be sure that the evidences that you have collected at the end of the 6 years prove indeed that you have delivered. We're just being cautious here. That's why we put down a baseline. Anything beyond you want to go, please proceed. Institutions are allowed and in fact encouraged to do that. So the question that you asked initially, I said, as far as accountability and accreditation body is concerned and MQA, where they belong, whether they are still relevant, yes, they are very relevant. Whether all the 16 attributes in MQF LOD 1.0 with the 2 additional attributes that makes 18 attributes altogether, whether or not they will still be put in place in the academic program in the next 20 years, the answer is still yes. AQRF has just recently been implemented, which is like last year, ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework. Again, we are looking at developing holistic, balanced citizens and entrepreneurial citizens. So minimally, this is it. Minimally, baseline. Anything more that you want to go, proceed. If you think that you're capable, if you believe that your faculty members and your university are ready for that, push to the higher boundary. Alright? So basically, this is just, we're talking about the long term, 10 years down the line, program aim, 3 to 5 years or anything out, few years after graduation, the accomplishment for the students under the PEO, the competencies upon completion, maknanya right after they receive their certificate, they must be competent already. Competent means given a task, that day after they got the certificate, they're given a task at work, they can perform. That's what competence is all about. Don't talk about competency at the 3 to 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. They should already have been competent upon graduation. Else, they should not have graduated. These are the statements of competencies. And of course, you can look at the design on how they have initiated, what courses will help students to achieve the competencies according to the credit hours, and medical program are very different from our program. They have like a 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and we were trying very hard to ensure that because of this 3 weeks is equal, according to them, 3 weeks is 3 credit, 5 weeks is 5 credit. It does not go well with the MQF definition of what 1 credit hour is all about, but this is what the medical fraternity has agreed, and if it has become an agreement and a standard for the medical fraternity, go with it. Okay, let's talk about constructive alignment. They have already made the design. The design at the program level has already been done. This is where the design is made. Which courses will help to develop which competencies? Do not be greedy. Before this, one course promised to develop, if you have 12 PLOs, they promise to develop all 12 PLOs. Now you see, for a 3 credit hour course, for example, the first course here, Fiqh Perubatan, Fundamentals of Orthopedic, it's a 6 credit hour course. The 6 credit hour course means 6 weeks of attachment. They will support only the development of 4 CLOs. Before this, they were trying to support all of the PLOs. And so when I said, have you got the evidences that you support and how well the students have achieved all the PLOs that you promised in your design? The answer is a definite no. You promised 4, you give me evidences for the 4. You develop 4, and you provide evidences for the 4. Otherwise, you would see in one learning outcome, you would see 5 different works, and you would address the attainment of, say for example, the cognitive development, you want to address the psych skill development, you want to address the attitude development, but yet there is no evidence on where the students are upon completion of the program. So do not be greedy, be practical. There are only 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. Everyone has a life, right? Students need to have a life. So be practical. So when we redesign this is what we have mooted, be practical. So after this design, once you have designed this, you see, the magic about all of this, if you have already promised, for example, again, fundamentals of orthopedic, since you promised developing 4 PLOs, it means that the course will only have 4 CLOs. No need to have too many. Kalau tidak, dia bisa sampai 15. Daripada 15 CLO untuk khusus tu, hanya ada evidence, 1 untuk cognitive development, knowledge and understanding, 2 untuk lab. That's it. Where are evidences of attainment for the other 12 CLOs that you promised to develop? Yes, ma'am. It seems that you want to know something.
Are they like taking different courses at the same time?
Yeah. In one semester, sometimes you have like many different courses. Right. For different courses. For one person who teach that course, no. If I teach only fundamentals of orthopedic, then I only help to develop those 4, and I provide evidences on how well they have attained the 4. Other course, for example, will help, let's just look at community medicine. They will develop different competencies. And emergency anesthesiology, different. Surgical, different. This reduces the burden on the lecturer, and accountability is much easier. It is more practical. Yeah. Right. For each of the course that they have been promised for them to show and demonstrate. Okay, so let's move on a little bit more so that we can talk about. Hey, they even have done the following. What is this? Okay, they have even predetermined, even though this is not fixed, they have even predetermined for each of the course what would be the complexity level, whether it be the cognition, the cognitive skill, and the psychomotor skill. They have minimally, this is what we will have for each course. If you want to go beyond that, proceed. So this is where the design comes in. When you implement, you know exactly, okay, my responsibilities is I am teaching this course will be this. Can we negotiate? This has been negotiated during the workshop more than 5 times. Until everyone in the team, every single lecturer who teaches the code, agree to agree. Agree to agree. There was a lot of disagreement. I cannot do this, I cannot develop social skill. How can I help students to develop their interpersonal skill? It is not in my course. Yes, it wasn't in your course before. But can you help the students to develop their When you go out to the community, this is the course just now, community medicine, right? Can you, when you engage with the community, help to develop students in terms of their interpersonal development? Yeah, develop. If you don't develop, where else can you help the students to develop? We are hoping that everything comes and happens just like that. It happens, we design it to happen, right? Okay, 4 minutes to go. I have not even gone to the alignment yet. Why? Because all of this will dictate. You don't just jump straight to the alignment without having all of this design. Once the design has already been done, then only you go to the course level. For example, since this course has, I don't know how many credit hours, they have 5 CLOs, but I'm not going to talk about this one. Let's give you one example of the key takeaway. What is that sound? Okay. After all the program curriculum mapping has been completed, has been done. After all the design has already been done at the program level, now we go 1 or 2 courses. This is what is the name of this course? Something to do with microbiology or something like that. They have already crafted the course learning outcome. I skipped the slide just now on the conditions for the course learning outcome. I think all of you are very much aware on the SMART: specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, SMAR, realistic, T, time bound. But to translate that into the writing and the crafting of a learning outcome is so bloody challenging. And so, I have proposed the following. In any statement of a learning outcome, a very good learning outcome must comprise the following 4 elements. 1, the verb. 2, the skill. 3, the substance. 4, the context. Outcomes must be of high quality, culminating demonstrations of significant learning in context. So those are the 4 elements in writing a course or a program learning outcome. I've indicated them with different color. Explain is the verb, so that I know when I refer to the revised Bloom taxonomy, you don't have to use Bloom taxonomy. You can use other taxonomies if you want. Okay? But as far as the ministry is concerned, they propose use of revised Bloom taxonomy. Verb explain. Immediately I know I'm targeting the ability to understand. And explain, and then the skill. What should I be able to explain? Explain the impact of. So when I look at the evidences, it is about them to be able to explain the impact of. What kind of substance is involved when I explain the impact of? In this particular case, microbes and parasites, and how they affect the healthcare practices. The context is the healthcare practice. The second one, perform is the verb. This is the psychomotor domain. And you've got to read what is the level of P4. Read the descriptor, a P4 level, mechanism level. It means that students, upon completion of the course, can perform without supervision. A P3 level means still with supervision. So perform is the verb. Perform what? What is the skill? Perform evidence-based. What is the standard? What is the substance? Standard infection control. And then in the healthcare practice shall be the context. So look at the verb, look at the CLO, and look at what they have proposed as the assessment tool or as the assessment task. Evidence that students can explain the impact of will be collected via 1, written test, 2, written report. But written report will not be used to find evidence that the students can explain. Perform evidence-based. they have indicated here that the students, evidences that the students can perform evidence-based infection control will be taken from a written report. My comment is, if you want the students to perform the evidence-based standard infection control, can a reflective report really show you that the students can perform? Note the verb. We're talking about alignment. Aligning the assessment instrument to the attainment of the learning outcome means that whatever instrument that we used must allow, I repeat, whatever instrument you used must allow the students to demonstrate how well they have achieved the learning outcome. So, if your verb is perform, your skill is perform evidence-based standard infection control, can the instrument written report allow the students to demonstrate that they have achieved how well? So my comment there, assessment is not aligned to the targeted skill.
So it has to be more hands-on.
Activity would be hands-on. For me to collect evidence, I would have to stand in front of the students, don't I? What instrument is that? Direct observation. Or I can take a video and I can review the video. So you get to choose. You don't have to write there video recording, it doesn't have to be, but direct observation or observation. So this is what alignment is all about. Can the instrument that you use allow students to demonstrate how well they have attained the learning outcome? If it is not, then you've got to go back and look at a more appropriate instrument. 30 seconds. So in this case, they have explain, perform, demonstrate. Explain, of course, written test, no issue. Written report here that they used, I asked them, this written report is concerned with what? They say case study. Case study, okay? Case study, but your verb is only explained at the level of C2. Do you really want the students to get involved with the case study? So I look for evidences of C4 or C5 in terms of the CLO. I couldn't find any. I said, if there is no development of the cognitive skill, then perhaps the case study as a teaching and learning activity may not be wise. As a result, that written report for you to collect evidences under the case study, again, will not be appropriate or aligned. This is the kind of argument that we have to engage with. Look at the CLO, but the CLO has to fulfill the 4 criteria. For the cognitive development and for the skill development, but not necessarily on the affective development. Affective development, you can have 2 of the elements, is fine. But not for the cognitive skill, the knowledge and understanding, and also the other psychomotor skill. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall end my talk today by saying thank you to the group that has invited me here, but you know, ICGPA is no longer a requirement. But this is not ICGPA. Nothing to do with ICGPA. It is this that we were trying to push under higher education blueprint. It is this that we are trying to push for the ICGPA. This is the practices. ICGPA is only reporting. It's only reporting. This is what people are so confused about, you know. Thank you very much, and I hand it over back to the